Trump accuses Obama of treason. Annotated, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard on Friday released a slew of documents that, she said, implicate members of the Obama administration for treasonous behavior during the 2016 election. The claims confuse the allegation that Russia interfered in the 2016 election with the idea that Russia actively tried to change results by hacking into voting systems. CNN's Jeremy Erb and Katie Bowe-Lillis went through them and talked to people who worked on a bipartisan Senate review of the 2016 election. Wildly misleading is how the information was described by one source in their report, but that didn't stop President Donald Trump from accusing former President Barack Obama of treason, a crime punishable by death in the U.S. When he was asked about it in the Oval Office on Tuesday, Trump made the accusation while appearing at an event to discuss trade with Philippines leader Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Trump's very long, meandering answer is a window into how his mind works. All roads lead back to immigration and his 2020 election loss. Obama's office issued a rare statement in response. Out of respect for the office of the presidency, our office does not normally dignify the constant nonsense and misinformation flowing out of this White House with a response. But these claims are outrageous enough to merit one, said spokesman Patrick Rodenbush. These bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. Nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed in a 2020 report by the bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee, led by then-Chairman Marco Rubio. Here's a look at what Trump said, along with some context. From CNN reporting, question from reporter, Tulsi Gabbard has submitted a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration? Trump. Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it, and Biden was there with them. And then FBI Director James Comey was there, and then Director of National Intelligence James Clapper. The whole group was there. Then CIA Director John Brennan. They were all there. The inner room. Right here. This was the room. Trump said all of this in the Oval Office, which he has bedecked with gold filigree, portraits from the White House vault and a copy, behind a curtain, of the Declaration of Independence. Trump. The Oval Office is much more beautiful than it was then. But that's okay. I have nice pictures up. They came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here, I guess. People didn't feel too good about putting it here. But I do. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold. And it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place, it was them, too, but the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? From CNN's report. The new allegations from Gabbard lean on assessments before the election and statements from Obama-era intelligence officials, finding that Russia did not alter the election results through cyber attacks aimed at infiltrating voting systems. But the January 2017 intelligence community assessment never concluded that Russian cyber attacks altered the outcome of the 2016 election or compromised any election infrastructure in the first place, though state voting systems were probed. Instead, the assessment focused on Russia's influence campaign ordered by President Vladimir Putin and cyber operations against us and Democratic Party officials, including the hacked emails released by WikiLeaks. Trump, and except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they look. He's guilty. It's not a question. You know, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. Treason. The crime of trying to overthrow the government could be punishable by death in the US, even when the Department of Justice during the Biden administration accused Trump of election interference for trying to upend the 2020 election. It did not accuse him of treason. Trump, they tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined. Even in other countries, you've seen some pretty rough countries. This man Marcos has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it. And we have all of the documents, and from what Tulsi told me, she's got thousands of additional documents coming. We anticipate seeing them, although previously promised document dumps have failed to live up to expectations. Trump, so President Obama, it was his concept, his idea, but he also got it from crooked Hillary Clinton, crooked as a $3 bill. Hillary Clinton and her group, the Democrats, spent $12 million to Christopher Steele to write up a report that was a total fake report. Took 2 years to figure that out. But it came out that it was a total fake report. It was made up, fiction, and they use that now. The one thing they weren't able to do was to. Probably the only thing I respect about the press in years is the press refused to write it before the election. They refused to put it in. The Steele report was a disaster. All lies, all fabrication, all admitted fraud. She paid $12 million, and the Democrats, for that report, to a wise guy named Christopher Steele. He wrote a phony report, and they wanted to get that report in before the election. The Steele dossier has been discredited. But the larger conclusion of the U.S. intelligence community that Russia tried to meddle in the U.S. election has stood. So has the Mueller report's conclusion that there were interactions between Trump's campaign and Russians during the 2016 campaign. Mueller's report did not conclude that Trump's campaign colluded with Russians or that Trump committed a crime. It also did not exonerate him, Trump. And I'll tell you what, I talk about all of the time the fake news, how bad it is. But in this case, they wouldn't do it. They saw it, they read it, and they said, we don't believe it. And it was only after substantially, like a month and a half after the election that it got printed, and it was a big wisp. It was just like a bang of nothing, because the election had ended. If that report had gotten published by the New York Times or somebody, and I respect the Times for maybe only this cause they're crooked as you can be. They're a terrible paper, a crooked, corrupt paper, but for this one moment, they said, this is bullshit. We can't put this in. At the time, few organizations published the full Steele dossier in large part because it could not be corroborated, unlike Russia's election meddling, which was documented by U.S. intelligence agencies, Trump, and neither could any other Wall Street journals. A lousy paper, very, very dishonest paper. As you see, I'm suing them for a lot of money because they do things very badly. It's got a nice name, but it's really, in my opinion, it's a terrible paper and it can be corrupt. But just so you know, they didn't take the Steele report. It was the dossier. Remember the famous dossier? I called it the fake news dossier. The news wouldn't publish it, and I'm amazed. They had 2.5 months. It was finished 2.5 months.